I saw you standing there the first time that I laid my eyes on you. I couldn't get you out of all the thoughts I had. And now the end is near, and I just couldn't seem to get it right. I guess it's time to go. Yeah.
Back for another episode of the Coast Boys podcast. My name is Izzy.
I'm Gabe.
And today we're joined by Javi Magana. Javi, how are you, man?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing well. Gabe, how you doing?
I'm chilling, man. I'm so happy to see you, Javi. It's been so long, man.
I know, man.
It's been a while. Javi, where you at right now?
I'm in New York, or in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn? How are things right now, bros? In the pandemic, how is it over there?
Oh, yeah.
It's good, man. I mean, it's getting better, little by little. So, yeah.
It's crazy how long it's lasted, huh?
I know. Yeah, I left to LA like 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half. And it's so different over there.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah. What's
actually
different about it?
people- Yeah, there's actually people over there. Here's like, if you walk through Manhattan, there is no one. Like, I remember I think it was the third week of quarantine, my brother biked from Brooklyn to Times Square. I think it was like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Which obviously there is always like a lot of people. There was no one at all. Like, yeah, it was scary.
That's
But
insane.
Damn.
now things are better in Manhattan. Like everyone left and moved to either New Jersey or Brooklyn. So that's where people are at. But Manhattan is still, there is no one there.
It's crazy how people can just like pack up and just leave whenever they don't like something, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I don't like it here. I'm just going to
Yeah.
dip out. Like, I wish I had that luxury.
There is a lot of people here that even though they live here, they have houses, like their family lives somewhere else. Like that's what happened with a lot of my coworkers. They are from Florida or Minnesota. So what they did is they just went home and, went with their parents for a while. And then little by little, now they're coming back.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to do that. I couldn't go back to Madrid.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just
Yeah.
mentioned that you're from Madrid. And
Yeah.
we know you because you came to Fort Bragg in high school over here in California. You want to just talk about that? What kind of brought you over here and the whole process behind it?
Yeah. So I moved to the U.S. when I was 15. Actually, it's very different. Like when I was in Madrid, a lot of the school is pretty much you go to school, and then if you play any sport, then you do that. Like if you do swimming or soccer, then you do that, and that's it. Either you're doing sports or you're hanging out with friends, but that's it. And my father, because my father is from Fort Bragg as well, he was born and raised in Fort Bragg. He kind of told me that, in the U.S. you have more of a chance that, you have activities, you have other stuff that you do, you have different sports, and, it's more of an environment when you go to high school, like that's what you do. So I just wanted to try it. But when I was in middle school, my father will always send me to the U.S. Every single, I think the first month of middle school. And I don't know, I liked it. It was pretty cool.
I didn't know that. I didn't know your dad was from Fort Bragg.
Yeah, neither did I. What the hell?
How do you end up in Spain?
So it's a pretty cool story. So he was working for EY, which is a consulting firm, and he got sent to Madrid for a month. And the first night, one of his coworkers is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go out with my wife and her sister in Madrid, for dinner. If you wanna join us." And that's the first night that he was in Madrid ever. So he's like, "Yeah, sure. I don't know anyone. Let's do it." So he went to dinner, and he and my mother were there, and he fell in love.
That's a movie right there.
Yeah, and they went out for a week and a half that he was in Madrid. They will go out every single night, and then the last day he had to go back to the Canary Islands. That's where she's from, where my mother is from. And my father will every single weekend will fly to the Canary Islands to see her.
Damn.
And then after, I think it was a couple months, he's like, "Hey, I would love it if you move to the US with me." I live he lived in LA back then. He went to USC. So he's like, "Hey, I would love it if you came through." And just my mother has never left Spain in her life. That's all the people in her family are "Don't go don't go with a gringo, what's wrong with you? No sé qué. And he's like, I don't know, I love him. So he left like Spain for the first time ever, moved to LA, and they moved together. And then after, I think it was like 2 or 3 years or a year, they got married. And that's it. They started traveling around the world. And then my mother got pregnant with my brother, and they moved to Madrid.
Dude, that's awesome. What was life like growing up in Madrid? Like, what was childhood like?
Yeah, man.
This is very different.
Yeah, I bet.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, people don't really focus on classes, I would say. Here in the US, there's a lot more focus in your grades, in your classes, in that aspect. And I feel like in Spain, it's more social, it's, like, it's okay to not do that well. It's okay and all that. As long as, they're having fun, and as long as you're meeting people. So I guess it's very different. Like when I was in Madrid, I was failing everything. Like I didn't like to study. I didn't never try. That's kind of why I came to the US too, because I was like, what am I doing here? Like I'm failing at every single class I'm taking. Like what is going on? But yeah.
What do you think it was? Do you think it was just the lack of motivation? Was it hard for you, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna be a soccer professional and play for Real Madrid.
Hey, I love Madrid, boy. Hell yeah.
That's the dream.
Dude,
huh?
I remember when he first came over here, man, and we were hella excited because we heard like we're gonna get some kid from Spain. Like this fool's gonna be a baller, way we're gonna win. And yeah, you were hella good, even though, because I know you mentioned that like over there compared to Spain, like you didn't think you were that good, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was like captain the year before I left, but like I wasn't trying, like, or no one tried. It's like, oh yeah, you go to training, but you just play pickup games and then have your games on the weekends. But it's not like here. Like when I moved here, like, you guys had like an actual like practice with everything, with like full like, tryouts and everything. I was like, wow, like chill, man. Like I'm just trying to have fun.
Man.
That's crazy too, because you came and you fit right in, man. And like Gabe said, like you hear that around. Oh, we're getting a kid from Spain. It was two kids. It was you and
Oh,
Pablo,
yeah.
Pablo.
but he was older.
Pablo.
So
Shout out Pablo.
Shout out to Pablo. But yeah, you were with us on JV, and bro, we were just tearing it up. Like it was insane. Like you even, and I just remember you telling us that, like, oh, over there I'm decent, I'm average, and here you're like the best player, which I was just like, damn, that's insane. I can only imagine the players over there.
I know, it was fun. But the thing about your team is that it was really like a one. It was like a one team. Like everyone got along. Everyone was so nice to each other. Like I feel like that had a lot to do with it. In Madrid, people just talk. I don't know if I can like say it, talk shit. Like you talk shit about other teams and all that, and other players in your team. Like I remember we were on a final for my district in Madrid, and we were losing, I think, like 5-1, and one of our like players, he got injured on the like he was the defender. There was a ball coming towards him, and he got injured, so he couldn't hit it. And the other team got the ball, scored a goal on us, and everyone was so pissed. Like he didn't play for the next like 4 or 5 games. Even though we ended up winning the game, we ended up coming back on PK, last minute. It was like a wild game, but yeah, you don't see that here. Like I feel if that would have happened here, people would have been like, like, hey, it's okay, like, or one team, if we fail together. So that's something that I appreciated a lot about the Fort Bragg team.
That's insane. I feel like it's just a competitive environment over there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just dog eat dog in other countries. That's kind of like what you hear.
Yeah, always caring about each other too. Like if you have that friendship, like you guys all kind of grew up together, then it's even better.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it was just that then.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a Fort Bragg thing. A little hippie town,
Yeah.
little Mendocino town.
That's true. I was gonna say, yeah, it helps that we have in our small town, so like we all kind of got along really well together. And then when you came in, you like gelled in perfectly too. Like you got along with everybody.
Yeah, man, it was a good time.
And it was super convenient that you live right near Angel too. We could all just hang out after school and stuff. That was lit. So okay, that was our sophomore year, and then you moved back to Spain, and then you come back your senior year. So what was the thought process behind that?
So that's wild because my idea was only to be here for a year. Like that's it. I didn't think about living in the US. Like that. It wasn't a possibility for me. And I met a girl. I don't know if you guys remember. I was dating a girl, and we were dating when I was like in Madrid, and I was kind of like, this is the girl. Like, you know, this is the one. Like you know, she has like everything I've been looking for.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, bro. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, she was the only reason why I kind of moved back. Like I was like, you know, like I think it's worth it. And there's nothing really to stop me in Madrid other than my family. So let's do it.
Mm-hmm. And then right there, you come back senior year, you graduate. What was your plan after that?
So I didn't really have a plan. My plan was just to go with her to, you know, university together. She wanted to go to Reno, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably just, you know, doing that. And like, I don't know if I told you, but I used to like fail all my classes and all that. So I didn't have the GPA. I didn't have anything. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go with her and see what life takes me. But then that year, my brother moved to Los Angeles because he was studying medicine. So he was like, you know, UCLA is a great place to study. So he moved there. And he's like, yo, like, come to LA. Like, if you come to LA, we'll have your Mustang. I had a Mustang back then. And he wanted to buy a motorcycle because we used to have one in Madrid. So yeah, yo, move to LA and we'll have your car, my motorcycle, we'll have like the life and all that. And he just sold it to me. So I was like, you know what? All right, let's get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's like, you know, and then that's when everything started like going another path, and like things kind of broke it off with the girl. But you know, it's okay. It happened.
Yeah, I feel that. Gabe feels that. It happens, huh, Gabe?
That happens, man. Hey, happens to the best of us.
Hey, Gabe, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, man?
Hey, what are you gonna do? Hey, what are you gonna do? Well, how was life in LA?
Yeah, man.
It was good, man. It was a dream. It was surfing. I learned how to surf. The only thing is that before that, so my last year in senior, that's when I kind of realized that I had to do something with my life. So I went from, you know, like I don't really care about anything, and you know, like, things will happen if they have to happen. So like, so when I was dating that girl, and this is something that I will always remember about Fort Bragg. This is what I love about Fort Bragg, is that she didn't have enough money to like pay for university and all that stuff, and her family couldn't really help her, which is something that in Madrid you don't really see a lot of. Like you see a lot of that. You know, universities are a lot cheaper. Like a university can be $1,000. Here is like, you know, 60 grand for a semester. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I don't really see that. And when I was here and I was dating that girl, I remember she would like get out of high school until like 4 or 5 p.m. and go to work until 1 a.m. and do it all over day by day by day. And I was like, wow, like, you know, she's doing all of that just to pay for college. Like, what am I really doing, you know, with my life? So that's when I decided to, in LA, to go to community college and kind of like change that and start, you know, actually focusing on. I got a 4.0 throughout my community college experience and all that. So it was like that's a good way to learn and grow.
Absolutely, and that I feel like that's a very good example as to why people should consider community college over universities their first 2 years. There's a huge difference in financial, and you essentially get the same classes, and they're not as competitive, you know? Gabe, you know, like you went to UC Davis. I don't know how competitive it was over there, but for me, my freshman year at Sonoma State, it was really hard to get the classes I needed. And essentially the classes that I ended up getting my first year didn't really do anything for me. And it's just a waste of 14 G's. You know what I'm saying? And that's just tuition and housing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was I doing? I should have just went to a community college, but I didn't know at the time. You know, they don't really teach you those things.
Yeah. But I was gonna ask you, Javi, do people in Spain, is that like an expectation? Like after you finish your high school years, you go on to college, or do most people get a job right out of high school, or how does it work in Spain?
I would say half and half. I think, because of the people that I went to school with, most of them did go to college. Cheaper college, you know, like it's like a community college, but
not
an
here.
actual like degree. Just a few of them didn't go, but you know, just over there is a lot easier, not easier, but the resources are there, I'll say. And because I lived in the city, I guess here, when I moved here, it was a small town. So if you compare a small town to a city, and the schools that I was going to, those people tend to already have the resources to be able to do it, or to be able to go to college.
What community college did you go to in LA?
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica?
College.
And how was that? Did you like it there?
Yeah, man. I met a lot of international people, which is what I like to be always. And yeah, it was a good focus. I went from not caring about anything to like actually putting time and effort into classes, and just seeing that. One of the things I realized, like, wow, like I actually got a 4.0. Like from there, I transferred to USC as like top transfer student with a scholarship and everything. I was like, wow, like I've gone from, thinking that I was the worst and not trying. And because if you stop trying and you start getting like bad grades, it gets into your head and you actually are like, maybe I'm not good at this, and it happens with soccer. If you have like, I'm pretty sure it has happened to you guys. Like if you have a bad game, you're like, wow, like maybe I'm, not who I was anymore. And it kind of gets into you. So when I went to community college and I started getting like all A's, I was like, if I actually try, I can actually like, I'm actually smart.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, what changed then? You were just studying for your classes this time, and before you weren't, or what happened? What did you change in your routine to have you get a 4.0?
Yeah, I'll say my first semester was just like, hey, I'm gonna actually try. And the first semester is always like easier classes, and then this goes on into how and why I went to USC. I went to an event at USC for one of the tailgates, and I ended up staying there for like an entire weekend. And I had like the most fun I've ever had. So I was like, okay, I need to go to that university. Like I need to go. And after my second and third semester at Santa Monica, a lot of my teachers were like, they've been professors at USC, or they are teaching at SMC and USC. So they're like, if you get the best grade in our class, we'll like give you a letter of recommendation. So that's how it was a good, really easy motivation.
That's awesome. And what were you majoring in when you went there?
First, business. I was just going for business, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then when I got into USC, I changed to accounting, which is the major I graduated.
And I remember we were talking about this earlier, but when I first moved down to SoCal, the first weekend I was there, you invited me over and you were showing me around. It was really fun. You like showing me around the frat house and the campus, and you took me to eat, and we went to the Santa Monica Pier, just like giving me the whole tour, the whole shindig.
With my bald hair and everything.
Yeah, you're shaved back then, bro. I was gonna say, it's so funny to see you with long hair now. But yeah, man, it just seemed like such a sick ass area to be, like just the whole area, the whole campus. I liked how it was like downtown. It reminded me of like San Jose State, how it was just like downtown campus, and then you cross the street and you're just like in you know what I'm saying, in restaurants.
Yeah.
It was sick.
Yeah. Wait, what about you? You were in San Bernardino, right?
Yeah, I was in San Bernardino. It was cool. Yeah, I had a good experience. I don't know if I told you, but I had to leave. Like some financial stuff happened with my family. I ended up having to leave back and just work a year. And that was, I think, the year 2019. Yeah. So this past year. And I just came back to school and I'm just graduating. I'm on my last semester. I'm gonna graduate this spring.
Nice.
But it was really fun.
Where are you?
I'm at Sonoma State now. I went back to Sonoma State.
Oh.
So I went to Sonoma State my freshman year, and then I was just bouncing around, and then I'm back now. I'm going to finish.
Wait, where is that exactly? I'm so about with the cities and the town.
Santa Rosa. You know where Santa Rosa is?
Oh, that's Santa Rosa? Okay.
Yeah, so it's
that's
right
where
there in
Tony
Santa Rosa.
Hernandez is, right?
Is he there right now?
He was there.
Maybe. Matt. Gabe, you should know this, bro.
Matt's in I know. I should. He's my cousin, but I know last time I heard he was in Santa Rosa.
Yeah, he was getting the pilot license, man. That was so cool.
Yeah, he just flew the other day, actually. I saw him post on Instagram. He posted a pic.
Dude, that's so
really?
scary, man.
That's sick.
So sick. Good for him,
That's so
dude.
cool.
What a guy.
Yeah, man.
So talk about the transition from college to what you're doing now. Like, because you're in New York now. How did you end up there? before you start, I don't know if you told me when I was over there visiting you if you were doing an internship. Were you doing an internship or you were working with some company?
Yeah. So when I got into USC, when you're like a scholarship, like a scholar recipient or a scholarship recipient, they have this event for Big Four. Big Four are like the Big Four consulting accounting firms, where a week prior to school or classes even begin, they bring you into an event with all the recruiters, and they just like you know, kind of like help you introduce yourself and give you that extra advantage. So that's when I started interviewing for them. And then I got an interview, I think it was with three of them, with EY, KPMG, and PwC, just a few of them. The other one is Deloitte. And in the middle of the first interview, the interview is like, I think it's like 45 minutes. The guy, like 20 minutes in, the guy stops the interview. He's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm seriously thinking like, really? Already? All right, well, at least I'll try.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, like, I really like you and I really hope you get it. Like, I'm gonna have nothing but the best words for you. But I see that you're applying for the LA office because that's, you know, where I live. But he was a recruiter from the New York office. He said, yeah, they usually change recruiters just to, you know, to see different students and recruit. And I think you will be a better fit for New York. And that's the first time I ever even thought about moving to New York. I'm just like, all right, like this, I think that was my first ever interview at USC. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I should do that. And then I got the internship. The internship had to be in LA because, you know, I already applied for it. It was too late to change. But when I was in the internship, he like called me a few times and he said, like, hey, like, if you want to make the switch over to the New York office, just let me know. You just, you know, you can ask for it. It's not that hard. Yeah, so I did. I told my recruiter, like, hey, like, this recruiter from New York is trying to bring me on, and like, there's a possibility. And like 2 days later, he calls me. He's like, hey, like, I got you. You're coming to New York next summer. I was like, all right, that's yeah.
Damn. So that was already set up
crazy.
for when you graduated college, like to move to New York?
Yeah. I did my second internship, which is my junior year internship in New York, and that's when I was like, yeah, I love the city. You know, it's closer to Madrid, so I can visit my family. It's close to LA that I can go visit them, and close to Fort Bragg too, which I'm actually planning on. Yeah,
Close. Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
Everything's close when you're flying on a plane.
Yeah, that's true.
But because I'm actually planning on going there soon to visit.
To Fort Bragg?
Like,
Oh,
yeah, it's been like 5-6 years.
It has been a while.
been too long. It's been too long.
Dude, hell yeah, man. We'll give you the whole
Nice.
tour again, like you're a tourist.
Yeah.
All right.
That'd be sick,
We
man.
can play a soccer game. See if you guys are still in shape.
Dude, I haven't been running, dude. I've been so lazy. I was telling Gabe, man, it was crazy too because you know how Gabe, you know how like on the Apple Watch you can check your activity and stuff of like the days, bro. Like I would like go scroll back for months, and I'm like, dude, I used to run every day. I used to lift every day. I used to be so active, and now I'm just.
See, the trick with that is you just don't use your Apple Watch anymore, so you don't feel bad about it.
That's true, huh?
That's what you got to do.
You won't even look at it, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I need to
So
do.
how was moving to New York then? So I'm sure you had a plan ahead, like where am I going to live? Who am I going to live with? You know, I got to get all my stuff over there.
Yeah.
How was that like?
It was a lot less stressful for me because a lot of people from either my fraternity or from USC, like from my classes, moved to New York. So we all knew that we were gonna, you know, live together. So I already had that plan. And then two of my best friends were like we are called the Tidente. It's like two of my best friends that we try to do a trip every year. We're like, hey, like this year for the trip, why don't we drive Javier from LA to New York? And we just drive all his stuff. So we ended up doing that. We drove for, I think it was like 12 days. And
Oh my God.
it was a crazy experience. Like I saw things that I would have never thought about, you know, like going to Mount Rushmore. I would have never been like, hey man, you know what? I'm going to go to Mount Rushmore. But it's like, if you're driving through, you're like, hey, might as well. It's like an hour away. So let's do it.
Yeah.
That's hella funny. When was that?
That was last summer, June 2019 or May 2019.
Dude, that's so crazy how there's so many things in the U.S. that would never do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm from here, and I probably would never go to Mount Rushmore either, unless I'm an hour away.
I know.
Exactly.
I'm actually planning. So I have like another business right now that I'm like starting with my friends, but I'm planning to move back to LA and drive from New York to LA again. So if you guys want to come by, just come here to New York with a plane, and I'll drive you guys back.
Dude, why not?
Dude,
That'd be sick.
let's do it.
Just
Let's stop by Mount Rushmore.
yeah, wherever. Where else did you stop by? What other places did you drive by?
Niagara Falls, to the Arches. We went to Colorado, Madison, Boston, many places, man. Chicago. It's
Dude, I'd be so
like
down.
it's like if you take your time, like 12 days, you can see a city per day easily.
Dude, that's insane. I'd be so down. And then I'd just fly from LA to SF and just have somebody pick me up there. Dude, I am so down, Javi.
Bro, I can just like leave my stuff in LA and then drive with you guys. So I can go to Fort Bragg and visit my family and all that.
That's true.
Yeah. All right, we gotta plan it, man.
Dude, you sold me on it. So
I
essentially,
got hella hours of sick leave.
essentially, all we would need to do is just buy the one way to New York, and then just have money for the way back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all we need. It's just a
it.
one-way
If
ticket.
whoever's watching right now, it's happening, boys.
Dude, now we got to do it, Gabe. We already said it.
I'm down,
know.
man. Just say when.
I got
Yeah,
you
Javi,
tomorrow.
if you want to do
yeah,
it.
man. Just let us know when, Javi. I'm down whenever.
Right, yeah. It might happen in like a year or two, so...
Whatever.
Nice.
So talk about what you're doing now. Like go into more detail about what you're doing, because I don't really know. I just know you're in New York and you're working with a firm. But what is it specifically that you do?
Yeah, so the firm is called PwC, so PricewaterhouseCoopers. And what I'm focusing on is international tax services and consulting. So it's a lot of tax projection for companies that are either abroad or in the US and have entities in other countries. So we do a lot of their compliance. Compliance is pretty much, telling them like, hey, like this is the money that you owe in this country and other countries. Just because, there are ways that if you, for example, give a loan to another country and then they're paying interest back to the US, you can change the source of that income. That way you pay that income, like the taxes on that income in another country that has like a lower tax rate, or pay in the US with, now because of Trump, the taxes went down. So we do a lot of that, a lot of their structuring and loan structuring, and also compliance. That's pretty much like a little bit of what's going on.
Yeah, it sounds complicated.
Damn. That sounds complicated. Yeah. I was gonna say, is it hard to do or hard to learn all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, in this company, they have training. Like today, we have 2 calls for 2 trainings for 2 of the Biden proposals. So when every candidate usually have their proposals for taxes, which means that things change, and we usually have like someone that kind of walks us through what's changing, and we have a lot of programs that kind of we utilize to learn what's going on. So it is difficult, but the firm helps a lot.
Do you have to like dress up in a suit and tie every day and go to like an office? Is it like very corporate, or is it more like?
Not right now. That's a good thing because I'm working from home because of the virus. But yeah, usually I will have to.
What is what does your workflow look like from home? Like how do they give you like a certain time period that you have to do it, or as long as you get a certain amount of work done, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, I'll say like because in a company like ours, we have different services. Like, we provide services from auditing to consulting to what I'm doing. So it's a lot of like, we know when the client wants information. So it's just pretty much like, hey, as long as you have it done by then and someone reviews, someone like the partner or the manager reviews it, then you're fine. For example, like I have a project right now that the client wants it by next Friday. So I could either, work for 17 hours every single day and finish it, or just like, work a little every single day, make sure that it's correct and done.
That's good, man. That's sick.
That's nice. Yeah. You can space stuff out however you like it then.
Yeah. I mean, usually like, for example, I don't know if you know, like the tax season, that's when everything has to be filed and all that. We have the seasons for our international businesses, and those are like we are working like 17, 18 hours a day. Like it is bad. Yeah.
Dang. Is it a lot of paperwork, or what is it like? Like you're just filing reports for them?
Not paperwork, it's just programming. We have a lot of programs that, so for example, like we get pivot tables where we enter all the financial information for all the entities. And then we tell the program like, hey, this entity is a partnership or it's a CFC, because every entity has like different ways that the information rolls up to the actual owner. So we can tell the program like, hey, this is what's going on. This is like the information I'm running through the programs. And then that's what, gets our numbers. That's what fills up the actual like forms. So we don't have to fill it out ourselves. We have, that's everything. And then we just have to review, make sure that everything went, as we plan and that everything is correct. So no, there is not a lot of like papers or anything. Everything is like mostly on the
Everything's
software.
electronic now, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself doing that long term or what?
Nah, I'm like trying to start a business with two of my friends, because this is something that I feel helps you grow a lot. Like now I talk to the CFOs of the companies that I work for, like, CBRE, AT&T, Verizon, those are a few of our clients, and we talk one-on-one with the CFO. So it's a good way to create that network, to learn how to, how big companies do it. And then now when I can start my own business, I can bring all of this and bring the connections, and, it helps you bring something and create something.
Yeah. What made you want to start a business?
I don't like working for someone, man. Like when you're working for 17 hours every single day this day was for like 5 months, because it was, my client was CBRE, it's a big client, like it's one of the worst ones that we have. So when you're like, okay, if I'm working 17 hours for something that I'm not really going to see whatever I'm like working on, I'm not really going to see the end result. It's just going to go being filed somewhere. Like, imagine if I was able to work all those hours and do it for something that I can like see, and something that I can like see grow, So yeah, I think it's a good.
I 100% agree with that, man. I feel like that's, at least for me, that's my end goal, like kind of work for something, or I don't even know. I don't know what it is. I still haven't figured it out, but essentially, yeah, like reporting to someone else, or I mentioned it a few times, like just clocking in from 9 to 5. That's not really what I want to do, Like I like the idea of being able to work from home, or kind of like working at your own hours, telecommuting. I like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's.
I mean, you guys are seeing it with the podcast, right? Or
Yeah,
essentially, yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of more work than we thought it was gonna be, but it's fun, man. It's definitely more rewarding,
How you guys like kind of bring it up together? I don't know if you talked about this in other like podcasts, but I'm just curious on how this came to be like as it is right now.
You want to tell him, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, a quick rundown. Essentially, what happened was we were just at the beach one day, and we were just kind of messing around, and just like I think we had a soccer ball, we were kicking it around and whatnot, and then we were talking about the Joe Rogan podcast, and we were like saying how we both listen to it and we both enjoy it, right? And then this was like, oh, how much would it cost to even like do one if we wanted to make one? I'm like, well, you probably have to buy the bikes, and then you got to record it somehow, and then you got to upload it, so you got to need to upload it with something. But that's probably it. And we were just kind of like running through numbers in our heads and thinking, okay, it's probably this much. And then probably like the next day, Izzy's like, oh, so I looked up the cost of everything, and it wouldn't be that much, bro. It'd only be this much for this much for this. I was like, oh, dude, like, okay, a couple $100, like, all right, let's do it. And then we just kind of got together, we made the purchase, and here we are,
And the rest is history.
I will say, putting it together, like, when you guys are pulling the videos together and all that, like, how do you guys learn to do all that?
You just learn why you do it, Like, I will say that a lot of it is much easier when you have an idea of what you want in your head. Like, if you're just kind of like, maybe we record this whole episode, and then I sit down at my computer and try to think about what I want, it's going to take me a lot longer than if I already have like an image of what I want in my head, and then kind of try to put it together. You know what I'm saying? And then so you kind of have like that storyboard in your head, and then once you have that, you can kind of start to add maybe some effects, or like right now with the Zoom thing, like we're going to have water in the background. Like that's just something that, it's not necessary, but it's a cool little effect. So you learn how to mask the video, you learn how to layer it, you learn how to add it in the background. So like once you kind of get that, and it'll take you a while at first, and then once you start adding like to your tools, like it's just like nothing, it just becomes like second nature. But it's definitely become a cool process. And one thing that you just mentioned earlier about like starting a business with your friends, like I was like I follow these like topics on Twitter of like startup companies and like financial, like that corporate world, and they're like a lot of them like they're like little tweets that maybe it's like motivation or people that are like good with like finances, or sometimes they tweet about stocks and stuff. And they were saying that like coming up with an idea or starting it is like 0.1% effort, and then actually doing it consistently is like the 99%. And that's like very true with something as simple as like the podcast, and that's like just something that me and Gabe are passionate about and that we enjoy doing. But I can only like imagine if people like start an actual like a business, you know what I'm saying, like something that you're doing, like it's a lot of work, man. And I just kind of like hats off to whoever's trying, hats off to whoever's got it going, People like Los G's, bro, like they've been doing it for years, running it in Fort Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was working at Luna's, bro, I was working at it's in a little Italian restaurant, Javi, in Mendocino. Mm-hmm. And bro, just like seeing how stressed out the bosses are, like how often they have to work, like they don't get any days off. You think because they own a restaurant, like they can just chill at home most of the time. But they're always there. They're always talking to distributors. They're always talking to the cooks. They're helping out in the kitchen. They're serving. Like their job is to do everything. And it's insane how much work it is to own and run something,
Yeah. I mean, in a specific a restaurant, because I've been trying to see, like, to understand that, the concept of timing, the input that you're putting and whatever you're getting out of it. And I do agree that restaurants take a lot more just because you have to be there. Like if you're the owner, you have to be there 24/7. Kind of what I'm trying to create is more of an app-based contractor deal, which the reason why I'm not like fully with it yet is we were waiting with I don't know if you've heard the Proposition 22 in California, which wants to classify
the drivers, right? The contractors?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were very dependent on that because our purpose is to classify our employees as contractors because it is what they're doing. We're just trying to set up a service with someone that wants to give that service, kind of like ease up the communication between, the kind of buyer and seller. And that's what we were depending on. Like if it would have been no, that the proposition would have been no, then that would have been impossible because, we would have to pay so much more to employees and it would have been like so costly. But now that we know that Proposition 22 is a yes, now we can go ahead and start with the next kind of modeling of the business. So that's why now we're on that process of getting the financials together, getting how much the app is going to be and just trying to, get that going on.
That's good, man. How many people are involved with this?
Just three. It's the two people that drove me from LA to New York. We've been like close and we were talking about this for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. And now that we all have kind of the expertise, like they are, one of them is 27, the other one is 25, he's going to turn 26, and I'm 24. We have more, experience and leverage and contacts, so we can actually get this going on a good.
That's awesome, man.
I would say, yeah.
When do you expect to have it up and running or something? Because right now it's just kind of an idea.
So one of my friends, he's in that business already. That's why it's like perfect for us. So we just need to expand it to other services and other trades. That's kind of like the point. So I think it's there. We just need to, make everything more easy for the customer, I'll say.
Are you allowed to go into detail about what it is that the app can do, or is it still like kind of like low key?
Yeah, it's still low key, but
all right.
I'll let you guys know soon.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, we'll talk about it off camera then.
All right.
What is but like you said it was three of you guys that are involved. What is like your part? Like what are you kind of in charge of, or what do you oversee?
I guess that's what we're trying to figure out because like obviously I'm doing all the financials and budgeting, but I feel like I can do a lot more than, what I'm doing, just because they're both in LA and I'm in New York. So that's one of the reasons why I'm gonna, move back in in a year or two. That way I can actually be there for, the actual work. So I'm just doing this for the meantime, and I'm actually starting to focus on the development of the app. But hopefully I can go there soon, so I can, start getting more contractors and get, all the important stuff out of the way.
I feel that, man. That's awesome.
Do you see yourself staying in LA like long term then, or would you ever want to go back and live in Madrid, kind of like what your mom and dad did?
I mean, I will retire in Madrid. If anything, that's a perfect place to really live. Or if I have kids, I think I would want them to go in Madrid, just because I like more of the vibe and the way that kids grow, like less pressure on them, and I don't know, I feel like it's different. I liked it, but as you can see, all my life has been just like everything happens for a reason. Like if they tell me like, hey, come to Fort for a year, I'll do it. If I fall in love, I'll do it. If and I think I'm still like that. If I ever meet a girl, you never know. So I might go anywhere. I'm always open. Like I want to go to Asia for at least a year. So hopefully that can happen.
That's
you gotta find a girl from Asia. Okay, any girls from Asia listening to this? Get on my boy Javi.
All our viewers in Asia, make sure to DM Javi. No, that's a good. Honestly, I think that's a very good attitude to have, man. Like there's a saying: the adventures only happen to the adventurous. Like if you don't get out of your shell and kind of take chances, nothing's ever gonna happen for you, And essentially, that's kind of like networking 101. Like you need to go reach out and meet people. That's how doors open.
I mean, it just makes you like think a lot, like for example, you guys have noticed, like I'm really, really social. Like when I was at USC, I will always meet people. Like I joined a fraternity for that aspect. And then kind of when I moved to New York, I was studying for the CPA, which is the Certified Public Accountant, which is what you need to get to, to be able to sign taxes and all that. And when I was doing that, like I was lonely. Like I didn't know anyone in New York. Like, I knew like 4 people. I knew my roommate. My brother was here too for a while, but it wasn't the same. I didn't have plans every single day. I wasn't like going out. Like for example, I think in LA, I used to like go out every single weekend. And when I moved here, I didn't go out for like even a couple months. Like it was like, it's lonely and it's hard, and it just, you cannot learn to focus on yourself. Like now I'm actually getting ready for a triathlon. Not that there is any right now because of COVID, but as soon as they come out, I want to be in shape for it. And it's because I went from, thinking about drinking is so cool and you need to be with people and you need to like, keep yourself entertained, to be like, hey, like it's actually cool to be lonely. Like it's actually cool to just go to a park and read for a day or go for a run. Like now I can go for a run for like, I went for a run to like Astoria, which is north of Brooklyn. And that was like a 40,000 steps, which was like 20 mile. I think it was like 20-mile run there and back. And I was like, bro, like I enjoyed it. Like I went there, it was 10 miles. I took a break, ate a little bit, ran back, and that was an entire day. And I was like, I'm fine with it. Back in the day, I would have been like, man, like what am I gonna do tonight? Like, like where am I gonna hang out? What am I gonna drink? Now I'm like, hey, like it's fine. And when you start moving places, you learn that is completely okay. You need to be happy with yourself before you can do anything. And that's something that I feel like at USC mostly you get so lost. And I think it happens in all society now. Like you get so lost and it's so easy to get lost because, that's what everyone does. Like you look on Instagram and your friends, like my friends back in LA, they're all like going out and, watching the UFC fights and drinking and all that. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, I'm not cool. Like I'm lonely. But you just have to like start putting in yourself like, hey, like that's okay. Like just because you're seeing that on their phones doesn't mean that you have to do it, So it's a different mentality that kind of brings you to live in so many places.
Dude, that's awesome. Gabe, have you ever struggled with something like that?
Yeah, I think so. There's a word for this. I think we talked about it before, but it's like when you see someone else on your phone, social media, somebody doing something fun and you're like, you feel left out. Like man, I should be doing that or I should be there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that definitely does happen. But again, like you said, it's a mentality thing. It's being knowing that, dude, it's okay. Like people can go and do all those things and enjoy themselves, and you can be at home watching a movie or studying or reading a book, like you said, and or running and doing anything, and you can find happiness in that, man. So yeah, definitely, I felt that.
Dude, I struggle with that a lot. Like in the recent years, like that was always something. I felt like I grew too dependent on like my friends and like significant others. And like you say, like when you're alone, or in your case, it was because you moved across the country. But like another time, say like your friends just go out or they have plans or something without you, and you're just kind of like at home doing nothing. Like that kind of creeps in, you know? And it's really hard not to feel that way. But that was like something that I just had like recently gotten over, man. But I 100% like understand what you went through.
I mean, how was your quarantine, guys? Like, were you guys like hanging out with people, or do you guys go through that too? Or
do you want to answer first, Gabe, or me?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, it was. I think it was different because in Fort Bragg, I mean, it was pretty like chill for the most part, I would say. I mean, businesses were shutting down and everything, so that kind of sucked because like we'd always go out to eat to like Los G's or whatever, right, to grab a bite to eat or to grab a few drinks, and we couldn't do that anymore. Like it was 8:00 and everything was shut down already. We're like, what the heck is going on? But we would still like go kick the ball out together and pass around and whatnot. So there was still that little bit of social aspect, but it was only like me and two other friends. Instead of like inviting 4 or 5 people, I was only inviting like my closer friends to hang out. At least that was for me.
Yeah. And at first I wasn't really taking it too serious. I was like, man, this is ridiculous. Like I'm healthy, this and that. And it was a very selfish kind of mentality and attitude that I was kind of approaching it with. And I wasn't really kind of putting into account like all the other people that I do interact with, like my parents, my other family, my uncle, like all the older ones that maybe might have health issues, you know what I'm saying? And that was kind of like the approach that I had at first. And then once I kind of got over that mental shift, that's when your plans kind of start to change. You know, you don't really want to go out of town and visit friends. Like there was a time, I think like the past, I want to say, or the first like 4 or 5 months, I didn't leave Fort Bragg. And then the only reason I would to be like to get a haircut or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, but not to like go to parties. And you see on Snapchat all your friends or people in SoCal, maybe like some teammates or somebody that you have that are kind of going to these big social gatherings. And it's not like I'm like, oh, what are these guys doing? Like, it's fine. They can do whatever they want, you know? But for me, like, it wasn't really something that I'm going to want to do, you know? And especially here in Fort Bragg, like the only thing there is to do is to like go hang out with friends or go to restaurants and stuff. And when all that's shut down, you kind of have to make do with what you got, you know? And that kind of goes back to what you mentioned earlier about like kind of just being with yourself, or maybe just hanging out with your parents, spending more time with your parents, by yourself, dude, finding other things to do. But luckily for like me and Gabe, like we started this, and it was like something that kind of takes up a lot of time, you know? And then that was mainly like over the summer. And then once school starts for me, you know, it gets me busy. And then Gabe started with work again. So it hasn't been too bad. You know, we've been very fortunate enough to be able to stay busy this quarantine. But overall,
so
I feel like, what was that?
So you're back in school right now? Like,
yeah. So I've been,
right
yeah. So I've been taking classes since, I want to say the 3rd week of August. So I've been taking classes, and then in October the beginning of October I started this internship. And so I've been just really busy, you know, just kind of it's been keeping me pretty busy throughout this whole thing, which is very good. I like it, you know, it gives me something to do.
It's impressive that you can keep recording and keep putting the time for this, even though you have like some stuff. Like it's good. Like it kind of shows that you're in the right path, or you're onto something. So that's,
yeah, absolutely.
Proud.
Yeah, I mean, it is a reason to be proud. And again, like we mentioned earlier, it's just something that we both enjoyed like doing. So it doesn't seem like it's anything too crazy. The only hurdle is, like I would say, Gabe, I don't know if you agree with me, but the time, just kind of finding time to do it. Other than that, like it's easy, you know, like compared to other things, you know what I'm saying? I would much rather be doing this than let's say school or working, you know? So compared to those other things, when you do put it like school and then you have the podcast, I would much rather be doing the podcast. You know what I'm saying? So when I am done with like homework or projects or whatever I have to do with the internship, like I can kind of focus on this. But again, yeah, like you say, it is something to be proud about. Like it is fun. I think it's cool too, Gabe, like to just kind of start something out of nothing and then kind of see it like, I wouldn't say take off, but like kind of see it, like maybe you're scrolling through the page or you're scrolling on like the YouTube channel. It's like, dude, we did that like from nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's such a cool idea.
One of my favorite things so far has been that, like, when you see people comment or people just message me personally and they're like, oh man, I listened to your episode about blah, blah, blah. Like, that was hella funny. Or I really liked that you talked about this. It's just like, it's such a good feeling to know that, you know, you sat down with somebody and you created this and somebody else was listening to it and they appreciated it or they thought it was funny or whatever. It's like, yeah, dude, like, lit.
Yeah, I remember Mauro came to New York, I think it was like a month or 2 months ago. And he told me, he's like, we were, you know, talking about you know, people I haven't seen in years and all that. And he said, yeah, like, Izzy and Gabe are doing this podcast and all that. And that's when I saw one of the first videos. And I remember I reached out to one of you guys and I was like, wow, like, oh, this is like pretty cool stuff. Like, I like it.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Yeah. And then one of the things that me and my two business partners, we always talk about is that, you know, our idea is just the first one out of many. You know, if you have the right mentality, like, not a lot of people that, you know, have like big companies and all that, like, they didn't just like have one idea, go through and like, now it's the biggest company ever. They had like probably millions of ideas. And then finally they got to one that they were like, oh, well, this actually worked. So, you know, it's what you learn through the process. You know, you guys are learning so much and like, you know, being able to do it with someone else too. Like, hey, like, I need to find a time, not only for me, but for him that works for him too. And for someone else in New York that, you know, needs to be part of this.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like you guys start getting and you know, and if it takes off even more, then great. But if not, it's like you guys are to a point where you learn so much. Now you can use it towards either the next idea or the next whatever. You know, that's how we always talk about. We're always like, hey, like, if we fail, we, you know, we don't really talk about, but it's like, if for anything this doesn't happen, like, or for example, like one of the things that we're talking about is that if one of us, for example, me, that I'm in another city, I can't actually work on it because I'm in another city and I need to drop it, it's fine. Like, it's just one of our first ideas out of many. And, you know, and that's the beautiful thing about having that drive and that, you know, motivation.
Absolutely. That's a very
100%.
That's a very healthy way to look at it, you know? I will say, yeah, like, I mean, it's something that me and Gabe have talked about, but this whole, like you say, like, if this doesn't work out, then it was just like a good, if anything, it's just a good experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, from what me and Gabe talk about all the time, like, from what we've gotten out of it, you know, like, it was worth the everything. It was worth the money. It was worth the time. It was worth the effort. And from the beginning, like, I was telling Gabe, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this before, but like, my brother, I'll give you an example. Like, one of the main reasons that I really wanted to do something like this, and like the whole social media kind of like aspect, was because when I was younger, my brother started like a little business here in Fort Bragg, like a party event planning business. And it was just something that he enjoyed, you know, like, everybody likes going out and having fun. And my brother in particular likes doing that and hanging out with his friends and going to concerts and going to like Reggae on the River and Burning Man and stuff like that. So that was something that wasn't here in Fort Bragg. So he partnered up with one of his friends to do like an event planning thing here in town, and it was pretty successful. You know, like, he got a lot of money from it, and he was able to kind of like take off with it, and eventually he ended up moving out of town, and was like applying for jobs like for marketing coordinators at wineries, and that was one thing that was on his resume, and it was just something that he kind of made out of nowhere. And they asked him, and like, he was telling me that a majority of his interview was about that company. Like, they were asking him about that thing that he started and how he did it. And essentially what he was doing was like a real life example of what he would be doing for that winery. You know what I'm saying? Like, coordinating events for them. And essentially that was kind of like inspiration for me, because my brother didn't go to school, and he got a job that I would be applying for when I graduate, because I'm majoring in business marketing. So something along the lines of maybe event coordinating or marketing coordinator or marketing assistant or something for maybe a winery or something. That was just only there. That was what he applied for because he lived in Sonoma. But for me, I kind of saw that as like a really good path to maybe a future career. So when me and Gabe were talking about it, that was just one of the many positive things that could come out of this. And essentially that was something that helped me kind of get that internship. And it was like, it's really cool when you kind of see you plan it, or like when you plan it at first and then you kind of see it come into fruition. You're like, okay, well, it wasn't just a dumb little project that me and Gabe have on the side. It's actually something that's kind of helped me out, and and just me personally, you know what I'm saying? Like Gabe's got stuff out of it too, but that was just something that I remember we talked about that I wanted to get out of it, and maybe like, hey, who knows? Like, you know, this might help me out in the future, and essentially it did, you know. So I think it's sick that like you mentioned that earlier, so that just kind of reminded me of it. But yeah, man, we've gotten a lot out of it. It's been a fun process.
Well, it's like because you both have been in different cities for a while. I'm pretty sure this has helped, like, you know, kind of close that relationship that probably like, you know, it kind of like fades away after a while when you're away for so long. People are like, yeah, you guys are probably tight now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just talk about this too, man. We're like we always bring it up. We're like, dude, how did we even start talking again? Like, because there was a lot of time in high school we didn't even talk to each other. Like, we knew each other. We would say hi here and there because we played soccer or whatnot. Yeah. But like, besides that, like, we had different cliques in high school. So we were always wondering, like, when did we come back? We came back from college, and like, how, like, who hit up who? Like, how did you get my number? Like, how did we figure all that stuff out? But this has definitely brought us closer together, of course, because we always recording together and stuff. But it's just been so much fun. And the thing I've taken away from this is like, dude, you got to take risks in anything. Like, if you take risks and like you said, you fail, you learn something from it. You gain some experience, and you can always use that for the next thing you're gonna do. So, man, dude, this has been a blast.
Nice.
I think that's a really good thing, kind of like, because it's something that we've talked about before, Gabe. Like, a lot of times, like, just the fear of failure is enough to make you not want to do something. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And it's a common like mentality or like a fear that people have, myself included. You know, like, that's something that I've struggled with in the past before, but now it's just kind of like, maybe it's just like letting go of insecurities or letting go of what you think people think about you, or I don't know what goes into the idea of failure, but like you said, like something like this, just taking risks. Why not, you know?
It's kind of like classes too. Like, if you start failing, then you're like, maybe I'm not good enough. You know, if you have in your mind, like, oh, I'm going to be the one that, you know, creates an app or creates this, and then you start failing, it's like, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I just have to quit. And it's that, you know, cool. Like, this summer when I was in quarantine, one of the other things that I was doing other than, like, you know, running and all that was I created like a small app. It was like a dating app, kind of like that, but I was just doing it just because I wanted to learn the process of it, you know, like what goes into creating an app and how long does it take. And even great, I did a couple runs. I had a few people like introduce themselves, and everyone was like, I love it. And then again, you know, my compliance season happened, and I started working 17 hours a day and working on weekends, and so I couldn't do it anymore. But it was like an experience that I was working for like a few days from 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. And I'm like, I don't regret it at all. Like, yeah, I was like, probably like, I shouldn't have done it, and it wasn't good for my health. But now that I'm creating these other things, like, okay, now I know what I need. And I'm just like, you know, going on that tangent.
Dude, those are the best things, when you're doing something you love and you don't realize the time is going by so fast. You just get started on something, you're like, whoa, like 5 hours went by, like, what's going on? Yeah. And that's how this experience has been too. We're talking to somebody and we're like, oh, that was probably like a nice 45-minute conversation or whatever. And we look at the time, it's like 2.5 hours. We're like, oh shit, like, that's crazy. So those are the best.
Or you're even like alone, you're in bed. And I just feel that you're about to go to sleep, and then you have like one of the best ideas, and you're like, oh wait, I need to get out. Give me a second. I need to write this down. And then you start like looking into it, and it's like, oh wait, yeah, I should go to sleep.
and for some reason, it's always late night when you get that spark of inspiration, man. When you're like, man, I just want to go on a run, or maybe I got this idea. I want to start doing this. I want to start editing, or maybe I should try this. It's literally right before bed at the most inappropriate time ever. That's hella funny though. I wanted to ask before we end, because we've been going for about an hour now. And Spain, Javi, you know I'm a Madrid fan. You know, we gotta get into this. But when you were little, did you ever go to Real Madrid games?
So my father, because he works in a company that has like kind of like connections with like the stadium, we used to get tickets like for almost every single game at home. So me, my brother, and my father would go to like almost every single game. I remember I went to like 2007, I think it was, when Real Madrid won against Mallorca. On the last game, we were losing 1-0, and then we ended up winning 3-1, and it was like wild. And I don't remember I told you that, but yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think for like 3-4 seasons, I went to like almost every single game. So I was like very, very lucky.
That's insane. Were you there when they signed Ronaldo? CR7.
was. Yeah, I was. I don't remember if I saw many games after that, because after that is when I moved to, to Fort Bragg. And I remember I will never forget when Real Madrid won the Champions League. It was in your house. I will never forget, because we're losing. You guys were pissing me off, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to hear this all day. And then Real Madrid scores, and I'm like the happiest guy ever.
Dude, we were watching it. We were watching it at Angelo Carvajal's house. It was me, Javi, and Udi, and Madrid was losing the entire game. But we left at halftime, and that fool was just talking smack the whole time, like, "Oh, they're gonna lose this and that," and we're hella mad. We're like, "Dude, screw this. Let's just go to my house and watch it, bro." Like, at least if they lose, we can watch it in peace, And then they score that goal in extra time, and the rest was history, man. But I just remember that was the sickest game I've ever seen in my life. It's so sick. That's so funny because
go watch a game together,
dude. I was gonna say that was what I was trying to get to. Is if you're in Spain, bro, I'm down to go and watch a game. That's probably on
before our trip to New York.
Yeah.
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Before our trip, we'll go to Spain, watch a game, and then come back and then do the road trip.
That actually works, man. I mean, I haven't seen one in a while, so I have to too.
How much are they?
I mean, depends where. Depends. A lot of my friends have their family own tickets, like season tickets. So I usually just pay them like $20 and go, or get them for free. So I don't really know the price, but it depends, where. But they're expensive. Depending on the game, they can be expensive.
Yeah, man. I
The
mean,
best way, if you want to go for cheap, the best way is to go when they play in Getafe, which is still in Madrid, it's just on the outside, and it's way cheaper, because no one really goes there.
At the Getafe Stadium?
Yeah, you just don't get the same experience, but it's cheaper.
I think it'd be cool to go and do the whole stadium tour and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's definitely on the bucket list. I don't know if I told you, Gabe, but when I got my first car, it was an Audi. I got it in, I think it was my senior year. But dude, since I started playing soccer, I was I think it was in 2010 when I started watching it, and I would just go on. I remember I would just go on UEFA.com and I would just look at Real Madrid videos. And I would just watch. It was stupid videos too, just training them, kicking the ball, or maybe them walking in for practice. And I remember I saw this video of Benzema and Kaká at the Audi racetrack, and every player has an Audi, and every player has a they go the whole team goes racing, pues. You know what I'm saying? They have a day where they go racing and take pictures and stuff. And that was the reason I bought an Audi. I was a Madrid fan.
I remember you told me this, yeah.
I was like, dude, that's lit. I want to get an Audi when I'm
a la Madrid, güey. Hell yeah.
I
I need to get a tattoo on my forehead. But dude, Javi, man, it's been so good talking to you. We basically hit everything. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk off camera and just plan a trip, because we're dead serious about that, man.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Sounds good, guys.
But it was fun, man.
Yeah, it was good catching up, man. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Man.
But we'll drop your link, your IG link, all your social media. We just want to wish you the best. Good luck in the future. Whenever you come back to Cali, man, we'll link up, okay?
I'm here, guys.
For sure.
Take care.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, all right?
All right. Later, homie.
Bye.